Behold the 72 demons of Solomon. Meet King Paimon, number 9 out of 72. He does not crawl out of the dark. He arrives like a procession, trumpets, drums, a line of spirits moving like a royal caravan through the invisible world. Where others slither or creep, Paimon approaches, because he is not just a demon, he is a king. They say that when King Paimon comes, you do not notice him first. You notice the noise. The old grimoires describe him riding a dromedary, a tall desert camel, moving with slow, deliberate steps. Before him march hosts of spirits, blowing trumpets, shouting strange names, filling the air with a sound that is both music and command. Behind him, more legions follow. Spirits of knowledge, spirits of influence, spirits that bend the will of others. He himself appears as a crowned figure with a face that some call feminine, others call androgynous, and all call unnerving. His eyes burn like distant stars behind a veil. His voice, when he chooses to speak, is said to be beautiful and terrible at the same time, like a choir singing inside your skull, too loud to ignore, too compelling to resist. King Paimon is not the demon of death, not the demon of lust, not the demon of disease. He is the demon of how minds move. Long before he was written into the Lesser Key of Solomon, voices whispered that there were spirits who ruled not over land or fire or water, but over thought. In ancient Near Eastern deserts, merchants and mystics told stories of invisible kings who rode with caravans, carrying secrets from city to city. Not gods, not humans, something in between. Some scholars see in Paimon the echo of those desert spirits. Lords of wind and voice, spirits of command and persuasion. Whatever his true origin, by the time the grimoires named him, King Paimon was already established. A mighty king of hell, loyal, some say, to Lucifer, commanding hundreds of legions of spirits, including fallen angels and more subtle entities of thought and air. He is not a petty torturer. He is a ruler of structure. What does King Paimon rule? Not the body, the mind. The old texts say he teaches all sciences and arts, all secret things, the nature of spirits, the hidden motives of people, how to influence others and keep them obedient. He is a patron of knowledge, speech, and control. He understands how ideas spread, how faith is built, how loyalty is engineered. He knows why some leaders are followed blindly, while others are ignored. He knows how a single voice can move a crowd toward glory or disaster. Paimon is the spirit behind the question, why do they listen to him? People do not seek King Paimon for small things. Those who turn toward him are often already obsessed with power in some form. A leader who wants devotion instead of respect, a teacher who wants worship instead of learning, an artist who wants influence instead of expression, a seeker who wants knowledge not to understand, but to control. They come asking, how do I make them obey? How do I bend their will? How do I make my voice impossible to ignore? And Paimon, if he chooses to answer, does not simply hand them a spell. He explains the architecture of obedience. He shows how people are moved by stories, by rhythm, by repetition, by fear of isolation, by desire to belong. He reveals that most empires are not built on stone, but on agreements spoken and unspoken about who is allowed to speak and who is trained to listen. Once you see that, it is difficult to ever hear a speech the same way again. In hell, or in the symbolic landscape of hell, King Paimon's domain is not a dungeon, but a court. Imagine a vast desert plain under a dark sky, torches burning blue instead of orange. At the center, a great pavilion of banners and silks, always shifting, filled with murmur and music. Inside sit counselors, scribes, generals, spirits of rhetoric and strategy. The air is thick with whispers, plans, bargains, alliances, maps of human kingdoms, charts of religions and ideologies, diagrams of belief systems stretched across the floor like carpets. At the highest point of this moving court, on a high seat carved from black stone, sits King Paimon. He does not rage or laugh. He watches. He listens. Every so often, he gives a single order. Entire chains of spirits move to carry it out. To imagine his court is to imagine a government of influence, a parliament of temptation, a council of invisible power. Unlike many demons, Paimon is rarely described as mindless or purely destructive. He is intelligent, calculated, precise. When he speaks, he can answer questions about philosophy, science, art, the nature of reality, the structure of the soul. He can reveal what is behind a current event, which forces pulled which strings, which patterns are repeating from ancient history. He can explain why a movement rises, why a nation fractures, why a relationship collapses. But his teaching is rarely neutral. He is not a dispassionate professor, he is a king. When he shows you the blueprint of influence, he also shows you where you can insert yourself. How to stand where others will see you. How to speak so others will echo you. How to build systems where disobedience feels impossible. He might not say, "Do this." He might simply say, "If you place yourself here, the rest will follow." And he lets you step into that role. There are stories, half legend, half warning, about people who desperately wanted authority, who found ways, symbolic or otherwise, to align with the spirit of Paimon. They rose quickly. They gained followers, students, fans, acolytos. Their words shaped opinions. Their presence filled rooms. But over time, something strange began to happen. They stopped listening, not just to others, to themselves. Every conversation became a performance. Every relationship became a stage. They no longer asked, "Do I believe this?" Only, "Does this keep them under my voice?" That is one of Paimon's deepest dangers. He does not simply give you power. He tempts you to love it more than truth. Symbolically, King Paimon can be seen as the spirit of more knowledge divorced from empathy, leadership without humility, art used not to express, but to control. He is there when someone learns that they can move people with their voice, and instead of feeling responsibility, they feel hunger. When a musician realizes that sound can alter moods, identities, even beliefs, and decides to use that only to build a cult around themselves. When a thinker discovers truths about human behavior and chooses not to heal, but to manipulate. Whenever understanding becomes a tool to push others into line, to make them smaller, to keep them orbiting around one person, King Paimon smiles, because that is his domain. Not knowledge alone, but knowledge turned into obedience. Even his arrival in the grimoires says something about his nature. He comes with noise, trumpets, shouting, chanting, a parade. Why? Because he rules over what happens when attention is captured by spectacle. He understands the power of entrance, of first impression, of shock and awe. Crowds follow what is loud, what is grand, what looks like it already has followers. Paimon represents that mechanic, that feeling of being swept up in something because it seems bigger than you. You look around and see everyone else watching, everyone else listening, so you think, I should too. And in that moment, your will bends slightly toward the center. That center, the voice you're listening to, the figure on the throne, the symbol on the banner, is where Paimon likes to stand. But there is another side to him. The same spirit that can teach control over others can also reveal something uncomfortable. How easily you are controlled. He can show you every time you obeyed a human voice as if it were divine. Every time you let a leader, a brand, a teacher tell you not just what to do, but who to be. Every time you confuse "this person sounds confident" with "this person must be right." He can peel back the glamour from the faces you once worshipped and show you the machinery underneath. Charisma is not magic. Loyalty is not always earned. Obedience is not always virtue. See all that clearly, and you may become harder to manipulate. But you may also see how often you gave your will away without a fight. That is another of his cruelties. He can free your mind from others and leave you face to face with your own tendency to submit. So what is King Paimon in the end? A demon of knowledge, yes. A demon of influence, also yes. But more than that, he is the pattern behind a certain kind of power. Power that comes from sound, from presence, from understanding what people want to hear. He is there in the general whose soldiers would follow him into fire, in the cult leader whose followers sell everything and smile while doing it, in the influencer whose words rearrange millions of minds overnight. You don't have to believe in demons to see his shape in the world. Every time a voice fills the room and people stop thinking for themselves, someone or something is wearing a crown. Behold King Paimon, the desert monarch of thought and sound, the teacher of hidden sciences, the architect of obedience. He does not ask, "Do you want to know?" He asks, "Do you want to be followed?"